through to a seat.
How big are those?
That's 3 people to a seat.
What is it?
Jessica's report.
Oh.
She forgot to add it.
Okay, when Amy gets ready there, we'll call the meeting to order. We have an addition to our agenda this evening under item 6, Superintendent's update. We need to add letter E, math curriculum. Mr. San Romani will fill us in. So we could add that as well. Are there any other changes or additions to our meeting this evening? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept our meeting agenda as it has been amended. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve our agenda this evening. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Audience with visitors. I don't think we have any extra visitors this evening that are already on our agenda, so we'll go on. Board member comments. I'll open the floor up to any comments that anybody would like to present.
Well, I enjoyed the cruise. Went through Arlington. I thought it was pretty nice.
Any other comments this evening? If not, we'll go on. Item number 4, the consent agenda. At this time, do you want to explain the handbook changes before we approve?
You got in your packet, it starts with the learning environment, school safety expectations. Everyone see that? It kind of first starts outlining with, I guess, what you would call consequences or actions that we're going to take as administrative if students need to be sent to the office. And some of these go towards more middle school, high school, and some for elementary. Administrative conference where they have a conference with us. It may include parents or guardians, whatever we deem necessary. Detention, that's where it'd be more middle school, high school. We don't have that necessarily in elementary. Conduct probation, that could be for not allow them to go to school events if some of the disciplinary action is that severe. Then, of course, our in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, expulsions. Other possible interventions, of course, social worker intervention, alternative educational placement. I know that is really severe. We've only had a couple of those, but then it starts to go into the consequences, and it goes into a point system. And when they start to reach certain points, that's where parents are contacted, and of course we contact parents quite often, but this just goes to show when they do reach a certain point when the parents do have to be contacted. 10 points there, you see a mandatory conference with the student, parent, and the administrators or administrative team, if the social worker or even Mrs. McKinney needs to be involved. And then 15 points, they get to that point, a formal hearing for the student and going through the due process. And there, under discipline steps, it kind of gives you, step 1 is, I guess, what you would be kind of your minor things, where it may just be a conference or a detention. And a school administrator, will talk to the student, kind of give out discipline as needed, whether it be a detention or if it's something elementary level, having them help a teacher out during the recess or something like that. But then you go step 1A as a warning, step 1B is a detention, and then you have the disciplinary points there for initial and then repetitive times that they have those offenses. Step 2 is the in-school suspension. This is where they're removed from class and put in the office. And step 1A is 1 to 3 days ISS. Step 2B is 3 to 5 days, and then step 2C is 5 days. And there you have the initial points and repetitive points again. Step 3 is the short-term out-of-school suspension. A is 1 to 3 days, B is 3 to 5 days, C is 10 days with disciplinary points listed below. And step 4 is the long-term suspension or expulsion. And this is where they have an automatic, if they get this, they go to 10-day OSS with referral to expulsion hearing. And then the table has a list of 32 possible infractions, and a lot of these were taken directly from what we already had in the handbook, plus we did add a few that weren't necessarily clear in the handbook before, and some things that were missing, and kind of combined some things because we had, like, some offenses were in 3 different spots, so we put it in one centralized location so it was easier to read. So you have the infraction there. And first offense, it is separated for K through 6 and 7 through 12 in some instances. In others, it's separated by K2, 3, 6, and then 7 through 12, just like it was in the handbook now. And it tells each step. So if we go down to step 15, disruptive behavior in school or at a school function. If you go over to first offense, you can see they're going to have step 1A to 1C, which 1C isn't there anymore, so I need to fix that one. But, so they get, depending on what it was, I guess, and the age of the student, they'd either get a warning or a detention, or maybe both. Go over to the second offense, you go to step 2A to 2C, depending on what it is again. Step 3A to 3C for the third offense, and if there's a fourth offense, then it would go kind of to the step 4 of the expulsion hearing type stuff. And it goes through all of that for each offense. Some of them do say police referral, referral to a counselor, referral to different programs depending on what the infraction is that these students do. But it did take pretty much everything from the handbook, how it was lined out, and just kind of put it in a more organized format for us to use, so we're not going in 3 different spots to look at the same thing. And we found out in some circumstances, one section said something when another section said another thing. So some muddy waters hopefully getting cleared up a lot more with this new system.
To be clear, all that 3 or 4 pages that was marked in pink is being replaced by this table.
Yep, and then following that, there was extra information on like the drug-free and alcohol-free schools that's where some things were not stated the same. So I think I crossed it out what it said and then put in new what it should say according to this, so it's the same. Just looking up different districts' handbooks of some of the requirements and consequences for some of the things that came up about this year, kind of merging together with some of what the other districts are doing around us.
Is there any other questions for?
I have a question. So on page 45, it says points accumulated on a yearly basis. So are you saying that the points restart on a yearly basis?
Yes,
Why?
because they get a fresh start each year.
Why?
Because if they're not expelled, they start a brand new year with their discipline.
Yeah, but doesn't that give the student an opportunity to wait till the end of the year and make a mistake or screw up? and then get a free ride starting next year. Where if they, at the beginning of the year, screwed up and violated some of the policies, then those stick with them for 9 months. So you have a difference between 3 months in the summer and 9 months for a whole school year. To me, that's just giving them an opportunity just to wait till the end. And
I would say
Get a
it kind
free
of
ride.
depends on what the infraction is. If it's something worth expulsion, then they're going to be out anyways. If it's saying something to a teacher when they get angry, I mean, they get their warning and, or suspension, whatever it is, and then
But don't you think it has more teeth if they get a warning and then they know that if they make the same mistake next year, it's not going to be a warning, it's going to be something more?
potentially, but I like the free, or starting off with a new slate for our students.
I guess, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's been kind of the perspective over the years that sometimes problems tend to move from one class to the next, or 1 year to the next, and we seem to be dealing with the same issues over and over again. And if we just let them start over, we're just letting them deal with the same problems over and over again. So,
I even have to check statute, I don't know if that's even legal, because we don't even hold over attendance records next year. I mean,
okay, well, I
The
just,
state makes us start over, we clear out their discipline as far as the state records, and start over every year in June. That's true. But at the same time, we could also have a clause in here, and I think there is a clause somewhere in there about if it's severe enough, I mean, the board can help decide the decision. I mean, like if it means you don't participate in graduation, if it's towards the end of your senior year, I mean, isn't there some clause in here that about if it's severe enough, it can be departed from the list?
yes, I believe so. And because I know there is with transportation issues that we can remove transportation at any time if need necessary.
Yeah, it's on the bottom of page
I'm
47.
sure I don't have it right in front of me. It's at the table.
okay.
Any other questions?
I've got, I don't know if it's a question or not, but when I was looking through the handbook, it appears that the COVID-19 is not going away anytime soon. Has there been any thought to adding something to the handbook that if a student next year comes in and has some signs and running a fever and they need to go be tested, and if they test positive, parents need to know that they need to stay out for so many days, or I don't know if there's any good discussion to add a special section to the handbook for COVID-19.
Well, in that situation, my understanding is that we're under the Reno County Health Guidelines, period. So that's what we use our source, and that's where we call backup, say if somebody didn't want to follow that. We've done that before. We've had to get the Reno County Health Department involved. But we will have to have some kind of a policy to come back for the year. But I hadn't really thought about, we hadn't discussed putting it in our handbook. But
Because we do have the temperature and other serious illness type things where they can't come back 24 hours or whatever it is, symptom-free. But for specifically COVID, no, we don't have.
is that something that you guys want to see in the handbook this year? Or is that something we could have a policy that the board approves that's basically mirrors the Reno County Health Department policy and that we distribute to parents at enrollment? Would that be good enough, or would you like to have it in the handbook?
I think we probably, I don't know if it needs to be in the handbook, but we probably need to have something that we can go to if it does happen.
And I expect we'll be seeing something from KASB.
And we do have a pandemic plan in the safety manual with the emergency handbook. That was set forth by the state last year that we got approved.
I think a separate document would be sufficient.
I'll work on that.
Yeah,
Before we
because
get
it
back
could
to
change, it could change drastically between now and August.
Yeah, that's true.
On that note, that's what the principals and I are going to be doing here towards the end of May, is we're going to be working on the what-if plan. We're going to proceed as though things will be normal, but we are going to have a what-if, a backup plan. And that may involve more than one what-if, because the what-ifs are out there. But we will be working on that, as are most superintendents in the area.
Any other questions or comments about our consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda items this evening.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's on the floor to approve our consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. We'll go on to principals' reports. We just had our high school, middle school principal report handed to us. We had a chance to kind of browse through it. And we do not have a copy of Mr. San Romani's principal report, so he can come give us the Cliff's Notes version.
And he sent it to me, that was my fault.
Do you have any additions that you want to point out?
I do. Under the cheer tryouts, I did talk with Mrs. Hayden, and they are going to move forward with virtual tryouts for high school cheer, and hopefully we'll have something out by Wednesday regarding that. Let's see. High school graduation, we've tentatively set for July 19th. We just don't know exactly what time or where. We're kind of waiting to see what might happen, if we have to have an outdoor ceremony or go ahead and have it in the gym. It's air conditioned, it would probably be a lot more comfortable. I'm just worried about social distancing restrictions. Do you guys have any recommendations, thoughts on that, what we should go for here?
If things progress according to the phases, and we don't get held up on any phases, what will be the recommendations at that point?
We should be good to go to hold graduation in the gym like normal.
As long as it's under
As long
2,000?
as long as it's under, I think it actually goes up, it's like 30,000 or something like that by July.
I think we'll be okay with
I think
that.
we will be fine, yeah.
So it'd be my thought that to just plan it like we're going to have it like normal, and if the state comes in and puts the whoa on things, then we'll have to reevaluate.
I agree.
Move outside or do something.
Okay.
But I think the gym in July would be a good plan.
I agree. The football stadium might be a little warm come July,
So
but
probably go
Especially
for 4
4 o'clock in the
p.m.
afternoon.
probably 4 o'clock, and yeah, that's kind of our normal time, so.
And plus, won't the track work be started by then?
Should be.
Yes.
So it might be a little messy too.
So the gym would be a problem. I mean, that track would be a problem. The gym would be better.
And then, at this time, Mrs. McKinney and I haven't rescheduled 8th grade promotion. We weren't really sure if we were going to. We wanted to get your input, your thoughts on that, if we should move forward with that, or what you thought.
You might want to tell them we were going to do video.
We were looking at
Share
a
that.
promotion video to put out there on Facebook, kind of like they show here during the ceremony. Just do that on Facebook and maybe forego the traditional 8th grade promotion this year. Any thoughts, suggestions on that?
My child didn't.
I know some of you have 8th graders.
Mine's
so, I
indifferent.
mean-
She doesn't really carry.
Okay.
I'm kind of thinking my 8th grader wouldn't care. The fun part's the video.
And I figured maybe next August, if we get to come back, we could do something special to honor them. Maybe just have a little fun activity for the 8th graders, just to say, you know, hey, look, you're moving to high school or something, so. All right, right, and then the last thing that I was just going to update you on, we're going to move forward with high school summer school. It's going to be July 6th through the 30th here on campus. Mrs. Lubers has agreed to teach it, so we're going to fill it with upperclassmen first, our greatest need, to make sure they meet those requirements for graduation, and then if we have spots remaining, we'll fill it with our underclassmen at this point. So, do you guys have any questions or anything for me?
So they'll be in person here?
Yes, yep. Hopefully, we can limit it to like 10 people, but we'll see.
I don't have a question, but I really want to thank you for your work you put in for the senior cruise.
Thank you.
It was really awesome, and it meant a lot to the kids, and it meant a lot to the people around that they had that chance to
I
celebrate.
can't take all the credit. Janelle Helmont was the one that came up with the idea. We just kind of took it and ran with it, but I was really pleased with the turnout, and I'll be honest, as I'm driving through these towns, I kind of shed a few tears too. So the kids really loved it, and in fact, I had some seniors mention that we should make a yearly tradition because it was that much fun. So we'll see what we do next year. So.
You say you can't take all the credit, but you were driving in front of them and kept them all at or under the speed limit. I think that deserves a lot of credit.
We had a lecture before we left. We will follow all road rules. So, but it was really fun. I enjoyed it, and I know they did too. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I might point out, you can go ahead and walk back. I might point out the FPO pizza thing.
Oh.
I mean, that's just kind of their way of giving back because they didn't give a lot of money towards field trips and stuff. So make sure folks take advantage of that or let people know, remind them about that. I think that's a pretty good deal.
In mine, I gave enrollment information, of course, what it was right before we left, and then gave a little bit of information on our school supply return and potential supply give out for summer school. It is kind of tentatively set for May 20th and 21st. We'll have 2 times in the morning from 8 to noon, and then from 2 to 6 each day. For parents that are working, they have a little bit of time in the evening, afternoon to return some of the devices and things that we sent home. Elementary awards. I decided, and the teachers, when we did one of our Zooms, decided we were going to continue with majority of our elementary awards. Of course, some of them, since we missed an entire 9 weeks, we didn't do like the best math, that best reading, but I decided I was still going to do the ones that I gave out as the top reader or
Citizenship?
Citizenship, there you go. Citizenship Award, perfect attendance for 3 9 weeks, because we did have one student that didn't make it all the way, and I thought that was pretty good with flu season. That was right before all this hit. So I did a Zoom with Mrs. Prieb on Friday and did 4th grade awards with her. She had an award for each one of her students. Other teachers, I may be sitting in on some of those when they record and present awards to each of their kids. And then I am doing mine school-wide either tomorrow or Wednesday once I get all the names from the teachers. And I've been doing daily videos, and I just record, email it to the teachers, and they drop it in Google Classroom or Seesaw or Dojo, and then the kids can watch them. So the plan kind of right now is maybe at enrollment or whenever we return, the kids will get their certificates and medals and things that we have, because we probably won't have them ready by when they bring stuff back on the 20th and 21st. And a lot of elementary kids didn't take anything home, so they won't be coming here to pick stuff up anyway. So, and then I talked a little bit about summer school, which I don't know, I saw it was on Mrs. McKinney's list too, but KRR summer school will be May 26th through the 19th of June. Flyers were mailed home last week, and enrollment packets were mailed out today. It will be virtual. And it'll be Monday through Thursday, and students will actually be face-to-face with a teacher from 8:30 to 10:30, and they do have some breaks in there where the teachers kind of rotate to a different area to where they meet with a different group of kids online, and they have the planning is still kind of in the works of Sarah and the tutors, but that's kind of the plan Monday through Thursday. And then she's looking at virtual type field trips on Fridays or some other fun activities for the students to do. And then the last thing was the math curriculum, but I think I'm going over that later, so I'll talk about that later.
Any questions for Mr. San Ramon? Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go into number 6, superintendent's update. You have the floor.
Okay, we're going to start out talking about the summer, and I'm just going to mention, review the dates for summer school. The elementary school is May 26th through June 19th, and the middle school, high school will be in July. That will mostly be credit recovery focused. And then I want to talk a little bit about the summer proposal, which I believe is in your packet. I was going to tell you the page, and I don't have it in front of me. 77, thank you. So what happened with this is we had a series of meetings, we meaning the Reno County superintendents, including private and public superintendents, and we met with Nick from the Reno County Health Department even before the governor's plan was finalized about what we could do, when we could start using our buildings this summer. And this plan is a best case scenario. And we do have the unofficial approval of the health department with this. And it seemed important to several of the superintendents that we all try to do the same thing. Now, it's not going to be such a big deal for us out here. It's not really going to be that different than what we normally do. However, for some of the schools like in Hutchinson and right around Hutchinson, this is a pretty big deal because they have a lot of summer groups that would normally already be using their facilities. So I'm not going to read it all to you. I'm going to kind of hit the high points of it, of how this would work, and for those of you that are listening as well. Basically, this plan follows the governor's plan, the Reno County Health Department plan, as well as the CASHA plan. Now, you would think those would all three be exactly the same, but they're actually a little different. So this had to be put together pretty carefully, and most of the work and the credit goes to our ADs in Reno County, because they got down to the nitty-gritty and had all three sets of rules and put this together. And all of us are taking it to our boards for approval. But basically, we would follow the guidelines of the groups that I talked about. And from June 1st to June 15th, there would be no students in the building, in the gyms, in the locker rooms, or anything like that. There could be conditioning going on outside, and that's according to the CASHA rules. And the guidelines are there as how many hours they have to have, like 3 hours of physical activity for a week before they can go into 5 hours. Now, that is not contact sports. That is not tackle football. That could be drills, maintaining social distances, or things like that. But it specifically outlines what it could be. It cannot be inviting other schools to scrimmage and things like that, as we've done in the past. And then hopefully, if all goes according to best case scenario, at June 15th, we enter the phase-out part of the plan. And so then there's specific guidelines when we can open up our building, what we have to do in the weight rooms, the differences as far as kids coming and leaving the same exit, having their temperature taken before they participate, what can happen for football, what can happen for as far as team camps for basketball. And like I said, a lot of this doesn't necessarily apply to us, but some of it does. And then this also comes with general sanitation guidelines of what would have to be done per se differently than it's been done in the past. The coaches would be having to help and be responsible for this, and actually sanitizing weight equipment between use and things like that. So it would be a lot more stringent on those requirements, and they're listed on the back as well. And then there's a statement that's kind of a caveat, so they understand that the board or the administration, we can change this if we have to. We can make it more strict. Now, I will tell you that in one of our Reno County schools, it's already going to be more strict if the boards approve it. My understanding is Nickerson is going to be asked to approve keeping kids out and other groups out all summer, out of the facilities, because they've had quite a few cases there. We have not experienced that yet, so I don't plan on having any outside groups in this summer. If you think about it, if you're taking all these steps, and then you let somebody hold a family reunion here, say, June 10th, and you have people coming from all over, you're sort of working against yourself. So there won't be any groups using the facility for sure before June 15th, and then after that, I would proceed with caution. Because I don't want to have to, there's just things like that you got to be careful about, and you have to use the health department judgment at the time of where we're at. So I didn't write a specific policy for that because I figured we could work together on that, whether we start opening our facilities. We really don't have that many groups that use our facilities in the summer anyway. So any questions on this? Any discussion, comments, question before we take action on it? And this is every Reno County school, including Central Christian and Trinity, will all be presenting this same plan. The nuts and bolts of it were actually put together by the ADs.
Questions? I thought I'd entertain a motion to accept this document for our summer activities requirements. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay. Part B says CARES funding. We will be receiving $63,212 in CARES or ESSCR money. This comes from the government. It's actually, there, and you have the packet, you have the entire thing in front of you. There are 12 listed reasons, 12 things that you can use this money for in regards to expenses related to the period of time while you were under the pandemic. And I have to say that Dr. Watson has done a great job of preparing the superintendents and leading us through this and answering all our specific questions on how we can do it. I applied for the entire amount today, and then we will receive it in federal funds and we will draw down. And there is a possibility that we will be able to, because of the ways we choose to do this, that we can put some money into contingency reserve on the other side of this to help us. We can't put that money in, but we can put some of our general fund money in. So I just wanted to keep you aware of what's going on. And this is actually from 4/29/2020 to September 30th of 2021, you have to draw down the money. But we will have it drawn down much longer, much sooner than that, hopefully by midsummer. And that covers everything from replacement of devices that have gotten broken to paying people that weren't working during that time that needed to stay on the payroll due to the governor's orders. That covers the Wi-Fi's that Scott helped us get, and those that families have been using, extra expenses associated with meals. So I just wanted to keep you involved with that so you knew what was going on. And you actually have a list there, and you could see what all the districts are getting. That's based on your Title I allocation. Any questions on that or comments? All right. And that moves over to our financial outlook. I just want to make sure that everybody understands, before the last week of April, the Kansas deficit expected to next year's state budget is over $600 million. And that was before the last week of April. We don't know what May's going to do. Thank goodness, in some ways, we are starting back up. But the economy is going to, what has happened with the pandemic is going to hurt the state budget. Now, the governor has come out and said, I'm going to do everything I can to not hurt education. But let's face it, education and social services are a huge part of the pie. So it's unrealistic for anybody to sit there and think, well, there'll be no cuts at all to education funding. Because even though we went through all that with the court case and we were supposed to know for 5 years what we're getting per pupil, that could change based upon an economic downturn. And that wouldn't be anything that can't be done. So I have already shared some ideas, but I'm working on a list of ideas, and you know me, I'm a planner, so I've got to plan ahead and I've got to be ready one way or the other. And hopefully it won't be as bad as it could be, but we have a meeting this Thursday with Randy Ford, and he's going to help me finish out where we're at this year, so I have a projection of how much I could set aside for next year, just to have it in case we need it. It may be a tightening our belts kind of year. I don't know to what extent yet. But $600 million is a lot of money. And I know our piece of it is not near that large, but it is something to plan ahead for and to be thinking about, what are you going to do? And in like negotiations, the reason that's kind of on hold is because our only option would be to say, well, we're going to go this much, but then to put a sentence in there that says, but if the state has to lower the aid per pupil, then, So we'd rather just wait and see closer. Maybe we'll have more next month and have a better idea after meeting with Randy on what we can do in that department. So that is coming this Thursday. Kim and Amy and I are going to meet with him, and I've already gone over some of my ideas for cost-saving measures with him, and he's added some more as well. So we'll be talking about that. Just wanted to keep you involved in that. Make sure you knew I was looking ahead. Comments or questions there? And then 6D is all about food. I just want to briefly go through some things. I think most of you know of some of these, but on April 29th, we had volunteers from our staff and faculty that showed up here and helped divide food that was delivered by the Reno County Food Bank and United Way. And RCAT got a waiver to be able to bring it to us. We were able to serve 55 families on our daily lunch routes. We had enough for everyone that asked for one. And then there'll be a second program kind of like that coming in early June, and it's going to target more of the non-school families like the elderly and the families without school connections, because that's a group that hasn't necessarily been reached with help. They just called me back and said, would you help us? So I've tried to reach out and find people that I can rely on in each community that will take care of this in that way. Thirdly, you okayed tonight the Meals to You program, and that's something that was put out. All of these are no cost to families. This runs through the month of June, and if parents are interested in this, they have to send the email in by this Friday, and they will mail you, this program will mail you one box of food every 2 weeks per child, ages 1 through 18. So that's another way to get help with food. A fourth way that we just got finished, we heard about it today and got it submitted and finished up as part of HR 6201, or it's called the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. We found out about an additional program to help families, and it's coordinated by KSDE and DCF. And basically, families that already have a Kansas benefits card will automatically receive more money, a set amount per child for how many meals they would have missed at school. And you might say, well, isn't that some duplication because we're taking meals? Doesn't matter. So they'll take a cost of the meal and how many meals that child has missed being served at school. They'll add that to the Kansas benefits card. And so people who are already on a card don't have to do anything to sign up for that, correct, Amy? The people that do not receive a benefits card, but that are on free and reduced lunch, will have to fill out an application. And they also, too, can get this card. And this is to go towards groceries and help. And then still finishing up with the food service topic, our food service has just been doing a fantastic job, in my opinion. Jackie and her team have really been on this, and Tyler has had the drivers coordinating, helping. We have been delivering to rural houses. We've been delivering to the 6 towns. And what we've been doing is every Monday, we take out breakfasts and lunches for 2 days. And then every Wednesday, we take out breakfast and lunches for 3 days. So they get 5 days a week. And if you've seen this food, some of their sacks is not, even an adult can't finish all that in one setting. So basically that translates to probably more than 5 days of food per child. And that's ages 1 through 18. Well, at the end of this week, that's going to transition. And what we're going to do is we're going to do our regular summer program, but we're going to adapt it because we have a waiver through June 30th. So starting next Monday, we will not be going to rural locations. The people in the rural locations can come to the towns, as we have done like last summer when Jackie started this pilot program. However, instead of her giving one meal out, she'll be giving out on Mondays, or the first day that she goes to a town, they'll get 2 meals. And then the next time she goes to the town, they'll get 3 meals. It'll be every other day. She has 3 towns that she goes to 1 week, and then 2, and then the next week, the one that she went to twice, she goes to 3, just as we've done in the past. The difference being through June, she can take more meals. So that, I just wanted to kind of tell you about those changes, and she's been communicating those with the people that she's met, and we're also going to put a note out and information out so that people understand things are changing a little bit. Any questions on that? And if our waiver is not extended in July, then we'll go back to every other town, every other day, but 1 meal. I'm expecting the waiver most likely will be extended. And if that happens, then we'll be in good shape to be able to continue to feed for the week. Okay. The last item on there is the math curriculum. And I know this is something that Darren's team has worked on for a good part of this school year. And I am going to turn things over to him and kind of let him describe to you how they got to this point and why they chose this. And then this is something that would need your approval.
This process of looking at math actually started last year during my first year when Mrs. Creed was transitioning into her 4, 5, and 6. She asked to sit down with me because I did 5th grade math when I was a teacher, and we got to looking at the curriculum outlook of what had been done before and what was outlined when we were looking at it and looking at the standards, because I had her looking at that a lot of the stuff in our curriculum that we're using now is kind of more towards the old standards. Didn't have a lot of the new things that Kansas has in it now. And then as I got more comfortable in talking to the other teachers about it, pretty much every grade level kind of felt the same way, that they were supplementing a lot, not using a lot of the stuff that was in the books. So it was probably around Christmas time or spring last year that I asked Mrs. McKinney what the probability would be to look at a new math curriculum, and she said go with it right away. So we started this year in October. I kind of brought it up to the teachers and told them to ask around what some of their teacher friends are using, what they use in their student teaching, because we do have a lot of younger teachers that were fresh out of college, what they use with their cooperating teachers. And I had a list of about 5 to 6 different math programs, and I got samples of 4 of them because one of them that was on there when looking at it, and I had used it, was not necessarily impressed with the way it was aligned either. Either was the teacher that used it, she just had used it, so she said it could be a possibility. I had 4 samples sent from Eureka Math, Envision Math, Into Math, and Ready Math. And we spent the collaboration day in November looking at all 4 of them. They met in kind of the grade bands of primary and intermediate, and they met together, looked at everything. I walked around and talked with them, and we spent a lot of time looking at it. And they did a list of pros and cons for me, other comments on things. And the ones that really stuck out were the Eureka and the Envision were the ones that had the most pros. The other 2 were kind of similar to what we have now. They kind of said it was just dry and not very appealing to the students. They thought and very overwhelming and confusing. But then when looking at Envision, we actually got to see it a little bit when we went to Fowler for our visit for redesign. They used it there and got to see it a little bit. A lot of it's online. A lot of it you have to subscribe for digital access. There's not a lot of actual student using materials in their hands type stuff. And Eureka was a very high demand on all of my teachers pretty much. I mean, it was majority. They wanted it. A big appealing thing about it is that technically you can get every single piece of the curriculum for free, but you have to print it out, so it does cost you to print it, which does actually, once you figure out printing everything, would cost more than buying some of it. So the quote there, if you guys have it in your packet, I'm not sure if you do. Some of the teachers, each teacher is going to get the teacher edition of all the books and modules.
It's not in their folders?
Email there.
We'll get you a copy of this. Do you have one with you?
I have it right here.
Okay, so you can go over it, and then we'll get you a copy of this one.
Each teacher is getting a teacher manual that has all the modules of the learning in it. And since we did a multi-year subscription, we got 50% off of those. And then just first and second grade wanted the workbook set. And we did get a discount on that also. The other grade levels didn't necessarily want the workbooks. They wanted to try printing them out first of the things that they'd be using, their centers and things like that. And each teacher will get the digital suite, which is 12-month subscription, and they will get pretty much everything online that you could want for the students to use that they can use on their smart boards and things like that. And once Jessica gets, you can kind of see the total price of what everything is.
And that's things that students can access from home if need be as well?
Yes, because my daughter uses it, and everything that she has, there's videos that they watch and they walk them through everything. It's kind of like a flipped classroom where the person that does it shows them, they do it together, then independent work. And then there's, kind of some differentiation built into it with different videos and I know it works good for me, but I can see how parents that aren't used to it, because I can tell when she's struggling of what other videos she needs to watch, which teachers do that. So, they'd be able to use it in their classroom a little more effectively, but I know probably non-teacher parents would be hard to see which video they need to watch next, but she really enjoys it. I know Garden City uses it, Garnett, Morris County, the Diocese of Wichita uses it.
Thank you.
Topeka, and then a few of the surrounding districts around Kansas City. They just said some Johnson County school districts, and then Eureka, Kansas actually uses Eureka now too. It used to formerly be Engage New York. They changed names and they partnered with Great Minds. The curriculum is 100% written by teachers, not outside people. It is 100% teachers or former teachers that are administrators now. So it is a little bit different a way of approaching math, more at a foundational level instead of a college professor trying to teach an elementary school student how to do math, if that makes sense. With some of the stuff maybe some of you that have had kids go through have seen with some of the complex things that we're using now. Some of you that do have kids, it may look a little bit different, but like I said, it kind of goes back to the kids being able to actually see them move things and do it in their hands type stuff instead of just a formula type thing. And then if Betsy asked me this too, this is a 3-year quote. The rep did that for us since she'd be able to give us a bigger discount. So when this is up, the only other cost would be, since they have all their teacher manuals already, would be the online digital suite, which is listed on there at the very bottom. It's $9,900 a person. And then if they want workbooks, that additional cost, which is $28 or $26, $18 a piece.
So this quote is for
3 years.
3 full years
Yes.
of all that.
Yep. And she even said if we get to a point where like a 4th grade or 5th grade wants to add workbooks, we can add to the subscription and get a discount on that too.
Sales tax? We won't pay sales tax, right?
No.
So you can deduct that $798.50 and $43.18.
Yeah, 'cause she had that W-9.
So is this $12,000 per year for a 3-year commitment? Or
No, this is
12
3
for
years total.
Oh, okay.
Because I had the 1 year is what she quoted me first, and I asked about multiple years. Just to give you an idea what it was without all the discounts. For just the 1 year for exactly what you have there was $4,800. I think the biggest is the workbooks. We got a little bit more of a discount for teacher workbooks for the teacher editions too. We got a bigger discount.
So you said you can do some of this online?
Some of it can be, and I don't know if they opened it up a little bit more for at-home use because of COVID, because we do some of the lessons at home with my daughter, but I know her teacher said that they use some of those videos in the classroom, if that makes sense. Like the teacher has access, but so do we now, but I think it's because of COVID. If that makes sense.
Is there an extra cost if we do more online?
No, I don't think so. It's just that $99 cost.
Any questions?
Do they still put the answers to the odd questions for parents to get the answers?
I don't believe so.
Old school.
Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the math curriculum quote from Great Minds for Eureka Math.
Y'all make that motion.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Sanderman. Okay, move right on into capital outlay.
Okay, I have some dates for you for the track. The scoreboard from AFCO in Lenexa is tentatively scheduled to be installed May 18th. That's hopefully next week. I don't know what this rain is going to do to that schedule. But he said he had checked with delivery last week and it was on time, and they hope to be out here May 18th, which is next week, to begin installation. Then, both Aaron and I contacted APAC, And we are set for the milling machine for the track to come out here the week of May 25th. They'll begin their work then, and I don't remember exactly if that was about a 2-week process. It said how many days on that bid. At any rate, when they finish milling, and whatever that process is involved, I did look it up, there's a curing period of 28 days. Weather pending that, like if it rains a lot, I guess it takes longer to cure. But if it gets hot like July's supposed to be, or June is supposed to be, then our plan would be, the soonest would be early July that the track work would start. And I have from Dennis Reagan at Binion Sports, I told him exactly what was going on, and I told him the times. And he said, we noted the desired time frame of late June, early July for the start of the Fairfield High School track installation. And he talks to me about, just remember that there is a 28-day cure time. It's important to draw oils from the asphalt prior to installing an impermeable track surface. So he's CC'd his other people. And so right now I have verbal commitments from these 3 groups that line up perfectly. We know life isn't perfect, but maybe we'll get lucky on this one and it'll go according to plan.
Now, is there a representative from like Binion to make sure that what APEC's doing meets their standards so we don't have this underlayment issues again in the future?
Yes, they work together. My understanding is they work together on projects a lot. But Aaron has talked to both of them specifically about that. I will find out from him in response to that specific question what's happened and where that's at so far, and then I will let you know. Because he did not copy the APAC on this one, but we'll get that taken care of. Okay, any questions on that or other comments? Then we're going to move on to our bus purchase grant. This is in reference to replacing bus 109, which is our 1999 model with 215,000 miles on it. Tyler and I figured out today it's probably our most expensive bus as far as repairs and parts. And it's the one that Rolla drove this past year. Amy has already done her homework and worked hard and heard about this, followed up completely on her own, and got us a $15,000 grant to offset the cost of a new bus as long as the old bus is laid to rest by way of drilling holes through the block, which I'm more than ready to do that and cut the frame. I'll probably have him help me do it myself. Anyway, I'm going to turn things over to Tyler. He's got several bids that are in the packet, and then today he got the specs for 2 other ones just today. So they were in your folder or right there on the table by you. So I'm going to let him go through that and talk to you and give you his take on what he thinks we should do. Remember, any price you see, subtract 15,000.
So I think the first bid in the packet was the micro.
From Kansas Truck.
Kansas Truck. And for 109 is a 35 passenger bus. So it's 3 kids to a seat, but technically we just put 2 kids to the seat. They're rated for 3, so that's where they get 35. But Microbird from Kansas Truck without AC, which I'm glad I looked at the spec sheets, was the $58,859. Then I called them back today, and for the cheap AC unit, it was between $2 to $3 grand, and for the more expensive was another $4 or $5 grand onto that. So we're looking well over into the 60s for that bus, which if it came with AC at 58,000, Microbird would have been the one I would have gone with. But and it takes 4 to 5 months for them to get us a bus. So we'll be well into the school year. And the next one is American Bus.
It's Trans-Tech.
Trans-Tech, it's from National Bus Sales. They make the buses up in New York. The biggest they did was 30 passengers, and they wanted 59,389, and they were still 3 to 4 months out to deliver a bus. Then next was American Bus out of Oklahoma, which we've had problems with in the past, delivery dates. Well, I haven't, but when Craig was here, it took forever for them to get us the bus, and it wasn't even the bus that we ordered, so. But they wanted $67,100 for a 35 passenger with AC. Then my last quote was from Collins, from Masters up in Kansas City. They had 2020 basic bus was 58,800
Or 663?
or 660. Then the 2000, and that was just the bare stock, just the plain Jane bus. But he also came back with the 2019 brand new sitting on his lot with all the bells and whistles for $58,450. And I can have that bus in 2 to 3 weeks.
And the bells and whistles, that's the LED lights and electric door and a good air conditioner and all that.
It says a 70,000 BTU dual compressor and air conditioner. And that also happens to be the cheapest one, correct? Now that you have the specs from Bluebird. So what are your thoughts? Which way do you lean?
I will lean toward the Collins bus, just because it does have all the bells and whistles, has the better AC unit, and this bus will become the new VOTEC bus. And the VOTEC bus will get put in the change per route bus. So,
Typically, are these smaller buses like this gas engine, or are all the rest of them gas engine?
most of them are gas.
Are
The
they?
one we're replacing, 109, it's a diesel,
Okay.
so, but typically most of them are gas.
Collins, that's his reference in this, right? This one?
This one's gonna get delivered quickest too, right?
Yeah.
It's the one
Instead
that
of
goes
waiting
with
4 or
this
5
email.
months,
So, what I was thinking,
we can get it in 2 or 3 weeks.
It's a 2019, but it doesn't have any miles on it.
So even though it's a carryover, the warranty starts from 0, just like a 20 model.
That gets us, take 15,000 from that, we get a pretty good deal.
What kind of warranty does it get?
I believe a 3-year warranty bumper to bumper. And that includes motor, training, any mechanical issues we have. The company will pay to get it fixed.
And your email says that he says we could deliver in the next couple of weeks.
I have a question on the, back to the grant, specifically on the scrapping the old one. Do we have to do the scrapping, or?
I got to cut like a 3-foot section on both sides of the frame out of it and drill a couple holes in the motor.
And then, can we like take it to a scrap yard to get scrap value for it, or is it going to just grow up in the weeds at the bus barn?
No, it'll go to the scrap yard.
Okay.
I mean, unless you want it
No,
down. I don't want it down.
No, let's keep it looking nice.
He's got it looking real nice.
any other questions?
So then you're looking at 43, basically, for the call.
Correct, we'll get reimbursed.
So we pay the 58,
Right.
and the EPA will give us, after we send all the information in, they'll give us the $15,000 reimbursement.
And we'll have to send them pictures of the annihilation of the old bus.
which I'll gladly do.
Are you wanting to finance it?
No, I want to pay for it if we can.
Okay.
That's my first thing, is to pay for it. But I will know more after Thursday. That's the option. But I would like to pay for this one and not have to worry about a payment. Because then that's just something to fall on us next year, where we might be tight, more tight than we were in this year's budget.
Iowa have more stringent specifications for school buses? Because it says it meets Iowa specs.
That's for the glass for Iowa. He sent me an email about that. He said the Iowa specs is just for them, but the glass that they use is special for Iowa.
Like more higher safety rated or something?
Good. Thought that would be kind of universal.
Bulletproof.
Did you get in Iowa?
There's no guns in Iowa.
Yeah.
No, that's Illinois. Well,
It's a thermal pane glass. That's what he said.
really? Any questions more for Tyler? And your recommendation is the 2019 Chevy 4500 Collins DH 516, correct? Okay. I'd entertain a motion to accept this bid.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the purchase of this 2019 Collins bus. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that done with your capital outlay report?
Yes, sir.
All right. Steve, do you have a report from RCEC?
We had a fairly short meeting. It was all by Zoom again. We approved a contract with Girard Medical Center to process our Medicaid payments for students that don't have, some parents will go through their physician and get approval for services that can be billed to Medicaid, and some parents won't do that. And so we have an outside physician that will approve those services so we can file them for Medicaid. So we have, that's the Girard Medical Center. We approved our Illuma speech therapy online software again for next year. They provide speech therapists for our CEC in the districts. We're short 5 speech therapists, and so we haven't been able to find anybody to work for us. So we're going to do it again through the Illuma again. We hired 3 teachers for next year, and we authorized looking for another teacher to work with the infant toddler program for next year, because it's growing by quite a lot. That's about it.
Any questions for Steve? Seeing none, let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll reconvene for executive session. Okay, let's call the meeting back into order, or regular session. We need to go into the executive session for discussion of non-elected personnel for approximately 10 minutes. We're going to invite Betsy and Mr. San Romani in during that time. I need to entertain a motion to do so. Motion's been made and seconded to go into executive session for 10 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. I'll call the meeting back into regular session. And item number 10, under personnel, we need to accept the resignation of Sheena Albers, kindergarten teacher. Anybody like to make that motion? Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to accept the resignation of Sheena Albers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We wish her well. All right, that said, we are at the end of our agenda, and I'd entertain a motion for adjournment. Is there a second?
Second.
Been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, Scott, again.